So anyway, my name is David Fauvre. I went to the ICP program and graduated in 1997. When I began to understand the Enneagram at a very deep level, it completely blew my mind because it was essentially the analogy I like to use, which is a very simple analogy, is that if you're a psychotherapist and someone comes to you, it's without knowing the Enneagram, it's sort of like being a car mechanic and someone brings you a car, but you don't know what kind of car it is. So you've had training on how you generally fix cars, but you don't know what model it is or what year. So you may get it fixed, but it's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to be a lot more complicated. You may go down the wrong road a lot of the time. So what I found with the Enneagram is that it was able to explain this internal motivation and to put people into different real temperament buckets, really, if you will, that were just incredibly profound. So that started my journey, not started my journey with the Enneagram, but that was my first real deep dive into it. A few years later, when I was finishing up my certification, a little bit after that, Katherine was also going through the Riso and Hudson program, and that's how we met, was at a Riso and Hudson training. I was checking people in and helping Don and Russ out, and Katherine was reattending a training. So, and the funny part is that for years, Don had told us that we should meet, and we both thought, well, why would we want to meet that person? And we're going to teach on our own. We were sort of up-and-coming teachers, and of course, we met and decided to teach together, and then the rest is history. So, in terms of the Enneagram, I'm what we call a sexual 4. I don't know if you guys know the instincts or how much you know about the Enneagram. We'll find out here soon. My Tritype, if you know what that is 468. In terms of working with the Enneagram, I first started working with it really in my early 20s, so I've been studying it for, at least 20 years. I've been through many of the major training programs. I've studied with a lot of the major teachers, and then Katherine and I have been doing original empirical research for a number of years, which we'll talk about. So what we're going to be focusing on, obviously, today and tomorrow is the Enneagram, but also how do you apply it for personal growth, either to yourself or with a client. So I'm curious, how many of you are actually using the Enneagram in a professional setting? Okay, great. Or may do it, okay. So, interestingly enough,
by ourselves.
Sure, yeah, either by yourself, or I don't know if any of you are either
using it with others.
Using it with others, or if you're a clinician. Amazingly, one of the things that's happening is that the coaching industry is giving psychotherapists a run for their money. And one of the ways they're doing that is not all of them, but some of them really bone up on the Enneagram. And if the client is relatively healthy to begin with, that can take them a long way, at least for a little while. So
and therapists are doing coaching both.
Right, right. So it's an interesting time in terms of offering mental health services. We do see the Enneagram is being used very internationally at this point. We teach everywhere from Israel to Belgium, France, the US, and that isn't so much because we're hot shots, it's just because the interest is now all over the world. You know, originally the interest was first a lot in the 90s, was very centered around the US, but now we see it everywhere. I think that's it for my kind of personal intro. One of my particular areas of interest is Enneagram testing, which we'll get into. One of the really tricky parts of the Enneagram system is determining people's type accurately. It's easy to determine some of the time accurately. It's very difficult to determine, especially if you're a psychologist and you're seeing a lot of people, to determine everyone accurately all the time without a lot of training. But one of the things that Katherine and I really specialize in is understanding testing and looking at typing from a lot of different ways. So Katherine, you want to introduce yourself and your history with the Enneagram?
Yeah, my name is Katherine, and I found the Enneagram 25 years ago, and I found it to be really transformational. And I began doing certification work in 1995, and one of the pieces that I did for my certification was to look at how people saw themselves in relationship to the Enneagram. And I did it because I needed to, but I was curious, but I was unprepared for the patterns that came in. I'm a pattern kind of person. I loved the patterns. Then I wanted more. Now, at the time I was certifying with everybody that did certifications and attending workshops with anyone that would have me, so I had access to a lot of different people and was able to ask for the questions in the questionnaire that you all have, and then later ask people to send me pictures, images, phrases, anything that they felt pertained to their type. And then it was even more significant. And that just led to, so far, 17 different research, survey studies, and an ongoing passion for the Enneagram. And that's how I met David, because I was attending over and over again any trainings that were in my area just to meet new people and be able to interview them and find out the validity of what I was finding. And we met. He had the same passion for the Enneagram, and as he said, the rest is history. Together with our complementary skills, we were able to get out the information to a much larger group of people and get more data and then be able to share that with you. And so much of the time, we learn things based on a particular perspective. And what David and I have been able to do is get it out to people who can tell us the internal experience, so that, for example, when I teach, I find myself using 8 words. I'll use protection a lot. I'll use the word challenge. It'll be in my vocabulary, and I can begin to hear it and then think of a word that maybe is more appropriate for the client that I'm coaching, and it'll have more meaning or significance to translate better. So think of it as a translation tool. And then together, we've been able to create things that I don't think either one of us would have created alone. Maybe we would have been interested, but because of our shared passion and diverse areas of interest, we were able to do that. So I'm happy to have you here and to have the opportunity to share this, and I continue to learn more with every single event that I participate in and every single person that I meet. So
Did you share your type, instinct, and tritype?
Oh, the sexual 1-to-1 8 with the 8-7-4 tritype. Tritype simply means the 3 types that I use, one in each center of intelligence.
Okay.
Okay.